Okay, so very excited. This is Tehilim 13, part 2. And I think we're going to be in for a level off. I don't want to overhype it, but so let's review what we did last time. Very short perek. And so I did what I usually do is I clean up the translation and the questions here. Okay, so Lam Natseach Mizmor David. I forgot to look up the Lam Natseach Mizmor David, or whatever. Yeah. Forgot to do that. Okay. Ad Ana Hashem Tishkafeni Netzach. Until when Hashem, Art School Reply says, "Oh Hashem, will you forget me for eternity?" Ad Ana Tastir es Panacha Mimeni. Until when will you hide your face or your presence from me? Ad Ana Ashis Etos Benafshi. Yagon Bilvavi Yomam. Until when must I devise schemes in my soul, sorrow in my heart all day? Ad Ana Yarmum Oivi Alai. Until when will my enemy rise up against me? Habita Aneni Ad Hashem Elokai. Look, answer me, Hashem, my God. Ha'ira Einai Pen Ishan Hamabes. Enlighten my eyes, lest I sleep death. Pen Yomar Oivi Yechaltiv. Lest my enemies say, I am able to overpower him. And the him could either be the guy talking, or it could be Hashem. Tzarai Yagilu Ki Emot. And we understood this to mean another lest here, like the lest is going on both parts. Lest my tormentor rejoice when I falter. Va'ani, but I, b'chastecha b'tachti, I have trusted in your kindness. Yagil libi b'shoasecha. My heart will rejoice in your salvation. Ashir l'Hashem ki gamal alai. I will sing to Hashem for he has bestowed. You know what? I put goodness in here, but I saw article said kindness, and actually, if you're going to be conservative in the reading, then the chastecha, I think makes sense. That chastecha is going on both halves. Like I have trusted in your kindness, and he has bestowed kindness on me. Okay, all right. So that was our translation. Again, we had a slew of questions here. Our questions were, and I cleaned this up and I tried to identify which psukim the psukim specific ones are on. So which mode is this in? Biographical, if so, when? National, about Israel, if so, when? And then, or is it universal ideas? 2, what is the situation or context here? Who are these enemies? What is the threat? What form of salvation is he hoping for? You could ask questions. This is like question all the particulars. 3 is on psukim 2 and 3. What is his ad ana question? What benefit does it serve? What do the particulars of each question mean? What is the relationship between all 4 ad ana questions, and then why 4? Like it's just, and that's kind of an artificial question because the Farshim say that it is significant. 2, in pasuk 2, specifically, what does it mean for Hashem to forget? Hashem doesn't forget. Pasuk 4, what is he asking for when he says ha'ira einai, illuminate my eyes, and then habita and aneni? I should say habita, aneni, and ha'ira einai. Is this 1 request or 3? And we noted that really these are the only things he asks for in the entire thing. Okay, he makes 3 bakashos and they're all in the same pasuk. Pasuk Dalid, what does he mean by pasuk Dalid, what does he mean by ha'ira einai? Like practically speaking, what does that mean? And then what does he mean by pen ishan hamavis? And then we said side question, what insight does this give us into birkas hamapil? If we have time, we'll do that. Likewise, I said that already. Okay. Well, I meant to say likewise. Sorry, not likewise. What? Oh no, here we go. Next question, Daled through Hey, what are each of the pens, lest, and are these part of the petition? What is his argument? I forgot to add there. What is his argument? Okay, 8, which I guess we flagged as a major pasuk. Oh, a major question, because that's on the pivot. Doesn't the first half, 1 through 5, in which his outlook is negative, contradict pasuk vav, in which he seems certain of his salvation? Don't the ad anas contradict batachti? So let me just walk you through this. So I think Tamar observed, or someone just observed, this is very lopsided. First 5 psukim are all negative, negative, negative. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, he's like, but I've trusted in your kindness. My heart will rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to Hashem for he has bestowed kindness on me. So miman afshach, like, does he trust in God or does he not? Like, ad ana makes it sound like he's hopeless, and he has to like ask in desperation, but then he seems confident at the end. So what really accounts for that change? Psukim Hey through Vav, why does David contrast the joy of the enemy when he falters to the joy he will feel when Hashem saves him? That was Ariel's question or observation. What is the implication of the comparison, right? So that was in the Hebrew. Sarai yagilu ki emod, my enemy will rejoice when I falter. But then he says, Vani b'chastecha b'tachti yagel libi b'shuasacha. My heart will rejoice in your salvation. So what's with that juxtaposition or that antithesis? Whatever you want to say it is. Vav, what is the basis of his trust in Hashem in Pasuk Vav? When he says, I trust in Hashem, what specifically is he referring to? Also in Pasuk Vav, what is the relationship between his trust in Hashem and his future salvation? Right? It seems like a if then, right? Like, because I have trusted in your kindness, my heart will rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to Hashem because he has done kindness to me. And then the last question, which we saw after we started doing the Mefarshim, the majority of the Mefarshim say that this is about Galus. And even the ones who concede that it might be about David seem to prefer the Galus explanation. Why? And can these two approaches be unified? Okay. So anyone have any thoughts before we go? We got a lot to unpack here.
I want to know what the level up is already.
Okay.
I already got his emoji of that little switch.
Yeah, right.
You've already hyped it up too much.
Okay. All right. Hopefully I didn't hype it up more than warranted. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Okay. Yeah, tomorrow.
This is like a question/observation.
Oop, am I on mute? No, I'm not, but I can't hear you talk.
You can't hear me still?
Let me double check.
Hmm.
Hold on. For some reason, or try now.
Okay, trying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I have like a question/observation. Which I guess this is just a question on the modes.
Yeah.
So if it is, let's say, mainly about Gullus, is there like a reason to have it in the first person like this?
Yeah, I think we did that in Hallel, and I think we either said that because David is the king, then he can speak about all of Klal Yisrael, like because he's leading them, or he's just he's speaking as a representative of Klal Yisrael, something like that. And I think there is something more moving about saying it in the first person. It's almost like in the same way as, let's say, like in Eicha, it personifies all of Yerushalayim, and says, she weeps and she's mourning and none of her friends come to her. Something that makes it, because you could identify with a nation if it's said in the first person. And also, you could put yourself in the shoes of the person talking as a member of the nation. Maybe those were like 3 answers. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're okay.
No, I was laughing too much yesterday and I pulled up myself.
Oh, okay. It's a good problem to have. Okay. You're gonna, it's contagious. Okay. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. Okay. We read the Targum last time and we will read it again. Okay. But I want to do the Meiri. Okay. Meiri is really who first unlocked it, and then the Targum kind of complemented that. Okay. So let's do the Meiri. Oh, I should hand out the packets. I should also sneeze. Okay, hold on. You pass these down. And this is for you. Can you pass me an island roofing?
I think we might need that soundbite for the perm spiel next year.
I think you'll probably find better ones than that. Get a nice Leslie sneeze or a terrifying replacement sneeze.
But not the sneeze itself, really the buildup of the.
Oh, the buildup. Okay, yeah. Okay.
I don't know how I would, but.
Yeah. You hang around yeshiva long enough, you get to know everyone's sneezes because of the tapes. Like the sneezes don't change in since the 70s. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to injure Ariel. Okay. All right. Okay, so Meiri. Okay, so we're going to take it slow. Now, again, not everything in the Meiri is important, but I want to do all of it in case things that I thought were not important really are. Lam natzeach ad ana. Okay, I think I read this first comment last time. Zem mizmor nirim bo darchei drush. So this mizmor, the methods of drush seem to be more likely. Okay, nirim bo. Sha'amru dalet pa'amim nemar kan ad ana. So it says ad ana 4 times here. Keneged arba malchios, corresponding to the 4 kingdoms that we were subjugated to in our respective galios. Chlomar, shemizmor ne'emar b'nevua al hagalios hasidim. So David is saying this about the future exiles, okay, through Ruach HaKodesh. V'hu, namely, ad ana tishkacheni b'gomer b'Bavel. So the first one corresponds to Babel. The alpha p shekasuv netzach, and even though it says netzach, which is eternity, kozman arach yikari netzach. Any long time could be called for an eternity. Okay, so that's answering the question there. Kamov avadol olam, like it says in. I thought that was this week's parsha. No, it says in Mishpatim, and he will serve him forever. Okay, which is not forever; it's just a long time. Okay, ad ana tastir. Until when will you hide? B'madai, that's talking about media. Ad ana ashis biyavan, that's talking about Greece. And then Ad ana yarum is Edom, that's Rome. Okay, now when Ken and I were doing this, then we had a little bit of a debate about whether it's davka, like each phrase is specific, like Adan Hashem Tish Klein Netzach is specifically alluding to Bavel, and like there's ideas about Bavel in there, and then Adan Tasir Espenachamimin is specifically Madai, et cetera, or whether it's just, kind of like the Arbacosis, like 4, boom, yeah. Is it?
What does he mean? What is he referring to when he says that this mismore it appears to him like they're drush, and like is there a general Tehilim methodology thing to learn from that?
I think that's what, so there's, I didn't want to get you too hyped up. There's actually 2 level ups tonight. Okay. So I have a theory about Derek Drush in this one. Okay. I don't know about if it's universal. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Ken and I had a debate. I say that it's just 4. Okay. I don't think that one refers specifically to one, et cetera. And I have a raya that's coming later on. Ken thinks that he didn't work it out, but he thought that his intuition said that like each one is, davka, like alluding to the different galios. Okay. So just keep that question in mind in case we answer it. Okay. Then he says, V'ashis etzos, what does it mean? I will, I changed the translation this time. I must devise schemes in my soul. So he says, how long will I need to plan counsels in my soul? Mitzad hayagon shebeli biyomam, because of the how did I translate yagon here? Sorrow. Yeah, the sorrow in my heart all day. Or yom. So sorry, not all day, every day. O pirusha afilu hayom, or the explanation is even during the day. Shemitzad tirdas haiskim adam shocheach yagon, because usually when you're busy all day, then you forget your yagon, but then at night, then it comes back. So he says 2 different possibilities here. But the point is that what are his strategies he's looking for? Like what is he trying to strategize about?
Who?
David or Israel.
I don't know.
Existential dread?
Say again?
Existential dread?
Well, what do you mean by existential dread?
I don't know, just like the Yagon Belibi Yom
Okay.
Yom.
Okay, so the yagon. Okay. Yeah, right. So you're saying yagon is existential dread. Okay, I'm not sure it's gonna be existential dread, but yagon. So these are our etos about the yagon. Okay, about dealing with the yagon. All right. We should actually add that question in our questions here, which is what is the yagon?
The Yagon sounds like some like monster from somewhere, like the Yagon. It sounds like it's from Lord of the Rings or something.
Okay, that's your intuition. Okay. I don't think that was gonna use intuition. Ana Yarum is Reklam Shiyim shall be. So he says that I think we talked about this last time. Until when will my enemy rise up against me? Means until when will he dominate me? Can you pass the whole box? My allergies are acting up. The whole roof. All right. Okay. So we get 2 things from here. One is that there's the 4 galios. Second one is that he's looking for strategies to cope with the yagon, and the yagon is so extreme that it plagues him every day or it plagues him all day. Okay. Were you gonna say something? You look like you had a revelation. Okay. Now we go on. Ha'ira enai penishana mavis. Okay. This is the most important Meiri comment. It's long though. Okay. Klomar ha'ira enai sichli. Now, he says, enlighten the eyes of my intellect so that I not be mechushav so much. Now, mechushav, it's a weird conjugation. The footnote also grapples with it. Lashon machshavah, klamar mehurhar. That's also, I've never seen the verb form mehurhar. So I'm not so like thought plagued, maybe. I don't know. I don't exactly know how to say it. Lefisha ani yare pen ishan shenas hamavis. Because I'm afraid that I will sleep the sleep of death. Okay. The ainli yira mehamavis. Okay, now here's a key part here. The ainli yira mehamavis. I'm not afraid of death. Ella me oivai. I'm afraid of my enemies. Now, why would you think if you didn't read? I can't cover my screen to pretend he's afraid. Why would you think he's afraid of his enemies?
He's in Gaulis and they could kill him.
They could kill him, right? That's why either this is David himself and people are trying to kill him, or we are in Gaulis and people can kill us. Yeah.
I also think aside from this doesn't talk about his death, like a physical death.
Yeah.
But also think insofar as like if his enemies get to rise up and do whatever they're looking to do, that will undermine whatever David is trying to bring about in the world.
Okay, so that's the direction the Meiri takes.
Just on the point you just said, why would he be afraid of his enemies killing him if he's not afraid of them?
No, sorry, correct. Yeah, well, it's clear that he's saying that he's not afraid of death. But I'm saying if I just said, if we just looked at the pasuk that said, my enemies rising up against me, and I asked you, and then lest I sleep death or whatever, and I asked you like why he's afraid of his enemies, most of us would say probably because they're going to kill him, Yeah. And now Meiri is saying not.
Yeah. Like I guess the question is like within that those two sentences you just read, meaning like if he's not afraid of dying, right? So then why is he worried about his enemies? So what's unique about the enemies?
Yeah, right. What is he afraid of his enemies if not killing him? So he says, so shelo ve'in li yira me'mavos ala me'oivai shelo yomar she'ani meis michuli ela sheyomar yechalti lo. So they will not say, my enemy will not say that I died of illness. Okay, now I don't know if illness is literal here, or if this is like figurative for like all my sorrows and stuff, but rather they will say yechalti lo, I have defeated him. I have overpowered him. Therefore, I daven illuminate my eyes lest I sleep death. Okay, sorry, Friday. Okay, this is not okay. This is a long Meiri. I got lost in the Meiri. We're going to read, and he's going to reinterpret all of this in a little while. Okay, but right now he's talking about Klal Yisrael. He's saying, bring to light the hidden things about the length of this galus, lest I sleep death. Due to the great length of the galus, person will give up hope just like he gives up hope about death. Okay, so he's saying basically like, and this is what the anas are, right? Like, how long is this going to last? I'm almost giving up hope. Okay, all right. So I jumped the gun. Okay, he's going to give a clear to understand explanation in a little while. Pen yomar oivai yechaltiv, lest my enemies say I've overpowered him. Nira shechozer lakel yisala. So he's saying that it's talking about God. Lest my enemies say I overpowered God. Klomar yechalti lelohehem. My enemies will say I've defeated their God, right? The Jewish God. When they hishtabid bibanav leolam, because I've enslaved his sons forever. Okay, right. So we're good. Okay. I've trusted in you. Darshu bo arba nechamos. Now they darshan 4 consolations. I trusted in his kindness, but Bavel. That's by Bavel. Yagel libi, my heart will rejoice, but Madai. Ashira Lashem Yavan, I will sing to Hashem in Yavan. Ki gamal alai be'edom. And he has bestowed kindness unto me in Edom. This is my refutation of Ken, that it's not specifics, because why? Can you prove from there that it's not like B'chastcha b'takti is Davka Bavel and Yagalibi is Davka Madai, but rather it's just 4 and 4?
I think because all 4 of these would apply to all 4 of the galuses.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one that's one route you could say. Yeah, Ayala?
It didn't happen yet last time.
Yeah. Okay, right. So the tenses are all wrong, right? B'chastcha b'takti works out because Bavel was in the past. Well, first of all the tenses should be future if this is David talking in Ruach HaKodesh, right? But if it's from our standpoint, if he's writing for us in Ruach HaKodesh, b'chastcha b'takti is in the past. Yagel libi in the future. Well, Madai is already long gone. Ashir Lashem b'Yavan. I will sing in Yavan, but that's also gone. And then Ki gamal alai, that hasn't happened yet. Yeah.
Aren't you cool with playing fast and loose with tenses in Tehilim?
Yes, but not if you're saying that it's alluding to specific events. Yeah. In other words, when I say fast and loose with tenses, I mean that you can learn the entire phrase to be referring to past, present, or future, and you can't get bogged down in that. But if we're saying that this is talking about a specific historical period, then I think it has to make sense. You could say that it's just allusion, so it doesn't really matter. But but then you're basically saying what I'm saying. Okay, but now he says like this. This is where he switches, and this is what opened it up. It's li lefaresh ba'amru ha'ira einai. I want to explain that when it says illuminate my eyes, sharamas la'atzmo va'alzmano. That's going back to David and his time. Okay, so right now, if you look at the psukim, the Meiri is saying like this. He's saying that the first 3 psukim were about Ruach HaKodesh for the future, and then from here and on, it's talking about David and Melech in his present time. He's going back to the present. Okay, So let's see him take that, where he goes with that. He says,
Question?
yes.
So what was his last thing about the 4 nachamos?
So he's saying that that's why it switches to a positive, upbeat thing, because God is, we can be certain that God is going to remove us from these galios.
So is this new thing for Etzli Lafarish? Is this a new?
This is a new rendition of just these last 3 psukim.
Okay, because in the earlier thing he was using those psukim as or at least the Lashonos, right?
So let me just state this at the outset. It'll be easier to follow. There's 3 ways to learn in the perek. Okay, one way is to learn that the whole thing is talking about Klal Yisrael. Okay, the second way is to learn that the first 3 psukim are talking about Klal Yisrael and the last 3 are talking about David. And then he's going to suggest at the end maybe the whole thing is talking about David. Okay, and that was what the Targum did. Okay, that the whole thing is talking about one person. Okay, so here's what he says. After he prophesies about the 4 malchus, he goes back to his time. His enemies were chasing him and rebelling against him. And he doesn't have free time to contemplate in seclusion God's wonders. Okay, so that's why he's afraid of his enemies. Okay, not because they're going to kill him, but why? They're going to distract him. Okay, they're going to stop him from doing what he wants to do. What was that?
They're going to really kill him.
You think you're joking, or you think you're? Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. No, you're correct. That's exactly.
I said it was funny because it was funny, but no, I am serious.
Okay, yeah. And I got to remember also to show you a poetic malbim. All right, the Efshar Gam Kain Shakol Nemar Azeh. It's possible that the whole Mizmor is about this. Okay, so that's where he throws in the last possibility. Okay, so again, either the whole thing is about Yisrael, or the Ad Anas are about Klal Yisrael, and then David goes back to his time, or the whole thing is about David. Then he says, according to these last 2 possibilities, that is talking about David, okay, Amar, Ha'ir Enai, Klomar, Tain li Ezer Eloki Lahashlim Gufi V'nafshi. Give me divine assistance to perfect my body and my soul. Okay, so he's asking, so illuminate my eyes is asking for perfection, okay, for help in perfection. V'hu inyan ha'ir enai pinishan maves. That's what it means when it says, lest I sleep death. Klomer pinishan achar mosi, lest I sleep after my death. Rotzlomer shalotis achir nafshi v'muskala, that my soul does not remain in its cognition. Okay, he gets a little Maimonidean here. Asher. That when your soul stops thinking, that's real death. Okay, so in other words, he gives an interesting raya. I had heard this member of Chazal, but I never knew what it meant. And it sounds really negative. Talmidei Chachamim have no rest in this world or in the next world. So that sounds negative, right? But how's he interpreting it that they have no rest in this world or the next world?
Their souls don't cease thinking.
Their souls don't cease thinking. They don't have rest from thinking, right? So David is worried that if God doesn't help him to engage in perfection through contemplating God's wonders here, so and his enemies succeed in distracting him, so then he won't perfect his soul enough, and then when he dies, then it'll be a real death. Okay, he'll really go to sleep. And according to that pirush, his enemy saying, "I've defeated him," is talking about David, not "I've defeated God."
I just saw an interesting measure on that today. I mean, it's funny it was in Rust, but it's talking a lot about Hellas. Yeah,
that would be where it talks about it.
Yeah.
Okay, now let me just read to you just as in isolation. We're not going to do the whole Malvin, but he gives this such a beautiful interpretation of the death thing that I can't not read it. Okay, so he says, Habita, this is not in your packet. He says, look, corresponding to the state of being forgotten from Hashem, he asks Hashem, look at me with the eye of your hashgacha. Okay, so looking is a mashal for hashgacha. Va'aneni, and answer me. Ha'ira enai, illuminate my eyes. Mitzayin she'az einav haruchanim holchim chashechim. He's saying his spiritual eyes are walking in darkness. V'nafsho yeshena b'tardemas hamavis hanafshi v'hasichli, and his soul he's afraid his soul is going to sleep the slumber of the death of the soul and the intellect. Ki hachayim ha'amitim, because true life, genuine life, is the life of the rational soul, which lives when it walks before Hashem. Not so the life of emotion and motion. Okay, I don't know why the emotion and motion. I think he means emotion is the psychological and tenua is like the animalistic, like just moving around. Oh yeah, he says shehim chaya habehema. Those are the lives of the animal. Behema mavis hamiti. That's the true death, lenefesh ha'elokis, for the divine soul. The alzeh bikesh ha'ira enai penishan mavis ki nafshi yeshena az shoveses miruch niusa ad shitikaras mishurasha v'tamus mavis mos hanefesh. Because my soul will sleep, then it will be cut off from its. It'll cease from its spirituality until it's cut off from its root and it dies the death of the soul. Okay, I think the Sforno also had a similar thing, or maybe not. Yeah, ha'ireinai b'torah uv mitzvos. Lo yimna'uni mizeh tsaros chaye sha'a v'yagon hagezel haniskar. So he learns that it's about Klal Yisrael as a whole. So he says, I don't want to be withheld from Torah and mitzvos due to the afflictions of the temporary life and the anguish of Gezel that was mentioned. And Penishan Mavis Hanitzkishu Avdon Hanefesh. Okay. Yes, Isaiah.
So going back into the Meiri.
Yeah.
So is he interpreting the first half of this Pasuk Dal is talking about Bnei Israel, and the second half is David?
So you got three options. Option one is the whole thing is about Klal Yisrael, and when we say, "Enlighten my eyes, lest I sleep death," according to the Klal Yisrael interpretation, we're saying, I just forgot how he says that part. Hold on. Is tell us when the Gullus is going to end. Okay, lest we die, meaning lest we give up hope. Okay, that's option one. Option two is 1 through 3 is about the Gullus, and then David is saying, flashback to the present, my enemies are surrounding me, and I want you to illuminate my eyes in terms of your Torah or your Niflaos, lest I sleep death, meaning lest they succeed in distracting me from involvement in Torah, and then I'll die the true death. And then the third option is that the whole thing is about David, and this is the same interpretation. Yeah.
That interpretation, and this isn't such a big question, but to me it seems kind of hard because he's saying, "Look, answer me," must be referring to the Supplicant before to me. Answer him what? Like he's saying, answer my pleading that I was pleading.
Okay, so the question that you're raising is, according to the second interpretation, that this is a half and half, right?
Yeah.
What does the first half have to do with the second half?
Yeah.
Right. It seems like a non sequitur.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So let's. I think I can answer that question. But yeah. Okay, let's go with Ariel. Oh, I guess a bunch of people were going to ask that question too.
Yeah.
That was my question.
Okay. Good. Good.
Yeah. I was asking this someone like, what's the sense and split?
Okay. Okay. Good. Yeah. Right. I mean, and that was my problem. Is that to me, first of all, I like saying it's all about David. Okay, because it's just it gets rid of this, or say it's all about Klal Yisrael. Right. Why half and half? Yeah. Okay, David.
Can I ask our understanding of what he is requesting then from God?
Yeah. So what is he requesting? So yeah.
Like I said, multiple different routes. But this is I'll put a few things. This being like him within himself, that he's just trying to like reinforce a certain mindset.
Yeah.
Is he actually asking for some sort of Machshavah to help him with this?
Yeah.
And then within that, is that like something more toward his enemies, toward something that just like help with his surroundings and how we understand other things? And then also we're going to switch over to the Bnei Israel understanding and how that also plays itself out. He's asking for a whole mass of people versus just himself. Yeah. And more. Okay. Okay, good. All right. So we will elaborate on what he's asking for. Yeah, you have another question?
Yeah, just on one point that the Meiri brought up about when he says Chachamim or Tzadikim, they have no menucha in this world and in Olam Haba.
Yeah.
I thought like menucha was you being able to think about.
In other places, it is used that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do we use that?
Like menucha Shabbos, like.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You should do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why it sounds funny, but but he's learning it differently. Okay, before I have the big reveal, let's just quickly look again at the Targum, okay, which we read last time. So Targum takes this to be about whether it's about David or about universal ideas. he says, how long, O Lord, will you neglect me forever? Actually, I'm going to read it. Until when, Hashem, will you forget me forever? Until when will you conceal the radiance of your presence from me? So we said radiance of presence is associated with knowledge of God, apprehension of the Shekhinah, right? In Olam Haba, at least. Ashave milka benafshi. Davana bilvavi, until when will I have to take counsel in my soul? Woe bilvavi yamam, woe or anguish in my heart by day. Ad an yitram be'el dvavi alai. Until when will my enemy vaunt himself over me? Again, he'll define the enemy in a second. He's tako v'kabel tlosi ad Hashem Eloki. Look and accept my tefillah, Hashem my God. Anhir einai be'oraisach. Illuminate my eyes with your Torah. Lest I incur liability, and I sleep like those who are liable for death. Okay, so that's also not literal death, that's incurring liability. Okay. Dilma Yemar Yitzra Bisha Ashlatate. Maybe my so he translates again here, the pasuk says Oivi, but who's the Oyev? It's the Yetzer Hara. Lest my Yetzer Hara say, Ashlatate, I have dominated him, I've ruled over him. My oppressors rejoice because I stray from your paths. Va'ana betuvach israchates, I trust in your goodness, or I have trusted in your goodness. Yerani levavi before kanach. I will sing, my heart will sing in your salvation. Ashabach kadam Hashem metul difriya alai tavasa. I will praise before Hashem because he rewards me with good. Okay. Ready? Okay. So Ken coined a term. I'm gonna give you the term first, okay? And this is the new theory. Okay, just we have pivot point theory. This theory is called the evolution of the supplicant. Okay, and the theory is, we say all the time, and we gave 9 shiurim about this between February and Pesach, about how tefillah changes you, okay? But what we are theorizing here is that within a given perek, he's walking you through the steps that you need to do in order to change, okay? And you're watching him change as you go through it.
That sounds helpful.
Yeah, okay? And the level up number 2 is that I think that the reason why there are 3 ways to learn this perek is because at least here, and I'm not willing to universalize, then David HaMelech is a microcosm, or each of us is a microcosm of what Klal Yisrael goes through. I'm not saying that in a Kabbalistic mystical way. I'm saying that in the sense of the same ideas that apply to David as an individual apply to Klal Yisrael as a nation. Okay, so I think it's going to help if we explain this on the David level first. Okay, and then we'll take it to the national level, and then we'll take it to the practical everyday us level. Okay, so when you start off, how would you describe David's starting point here? Yes, it's negative. Is that what you're shaking your head? Yeah.
That was water in my mouth.
Yeah.
Very doom and gloom.
Doom and gloom. Okay, right. Very good.
Out.
Yeah.
Crying out.
Crying out. And what is he in doom and gloom about?
Our situation.
No, this is David. No, sorry, we're learning the whole thing about David right now.
The whole thing.
Yeah. Which, by the way, he did not explain if you learn all about David what that's referring to, but we can guess.
I guess
Yeah.
not like receiving Hashem / Hashem not helping him.
Okay, right. So he feels like Hashem is distant and has forgotten about him, right? And Hashgacha has left him. And what is making him? What's the yagon coming from? Okay, it's part of it's coming from abandonment, that he feels distant from God. Yeah.
Maybe like he knows like that the real purpose of man is like to be able to think and to be able to like live on eternally. And
right.
He can't do that if he can't perceive Hashem.
Okay, he can't do that if he can't perceive Hashem, but also
Inability to access that.
Okay, inability to access, but what does he go on to talk about that is also preventing him from doing this?
The Yetzer Hara.
Okay, so according to Tергum, it's the Yetzer Hara, right? And according to the Meiri, it's the enemies, right? Okay, so just you got to get the picture here, right? Is he feels distant from God in terms of being able to connect to God through thinking and contemplation and perfecting himself, and he doesn't feel like he has any help, and he feels like the Yetzer Hara is overpowering him, and he feels like all of his enemies are distracting him, preventing him from being involved in this, and he feels like there's a real chance he's going to get cut off from being able to be involved in this life. Yeah, Chaim.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, could we say that, and maybe this is just me like trying to insert stoicism into this, but
go on. You're saying good, say better. Yeah.
But could you say that the Meiri and Tергum are really talking about the same thing? Meaning enemies is not, you can't really be changed by your enemies unless you allow them to change you, right? So that's really the same thing as the Sahara. So I'm just wondering if like you have to say that they're two different things, or are we going to say it's the same thing?
I think it's the same thing, right? Yeah, very, very good. Yeah, Ariel?
Yeah, I just wanted to just observe from what you just said.
Yeah.
So it seems like there are multiple things that can turn us away from God or distance us from God.
Yeah.
It's ourselves, it's our enemies, it's that we have no help, and several other factors.
Yeah.
Is he stating that all these things combined is like problematic, or meaning if you had one versus the other, and you have some pull?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I think he is definitely listening. These are various factors that prevent him. Yeah, but I think what Chaim is saying is key, which is that the only thing that is truly preventing you is you. And again, I brought this example before, but like, I mean, Rabbi Akiva, when he was having his flesh combs, didn't say, these enemies are distracting me and preventing me from being involved in avodas Hashem. To the contrary, he made the obstacle of the way. I mean, that's a very high level, right? But he used that as an opportunity for avodas Hashem. Yeah, Tamar?
I think I've had this problem in Tehilim share before, so we could not go into this point now if it's not the right time or whatever. But I just don't really get that, like that point about this, the enemies can't really do anything. Like, I mean, let's say like Rabbi Akiva, he took that moment to the highest like level possible, but
right.
Like, you really, like, would you really say that like any situation that you could be in is really like, it's all neutral, it's all just his choices? Like, I mean, I would think that there are things like, if he wants to be able to be involved in being hispodigist and contemplating Hashem or whatever, like sometimes he can't, like I would think that's an effect.
I think that's an important question, but let's circle back. I want to let this perek talk to us instead of like trying to address that question in the abstract. Okay. So that's the state he's in. Okay. So God is distant from me. He's forgotten me. My Yetzer Hara is threatening to overpower me, and all these enemies are around me. Okay. And preventing me from being involved in Torah. So what does he ask? Habita aneni ha'ira enai penishanam aves. Okay. So what's going on in that bakasha? And he gives an argument. He says, lest my enemies say I've overpowered him. And which you could say is the Yetzer Hara, or you could say is the literal enemy, depending on who you take, and lest they rejoice when I falter. So what exactly is he asking for here?
I was gonna say, like, the opportunities that will allow him to like partake of that purpose of man.
Okay.
And like his enemies rejoicing.
Right.
When he falters. His enemies overpowering him, or like, I guess like those who don't hold of that idea, and those who like don't value that, like taking him out of the reality.
Okay.
And like them rejoicing is like them seeing that they were successful upon.
Okay, good. Right. Okay. So he's this we would call a good bakasha, right? Because he is asking for something that is a true good, and he's saying what the consequences would be if they didn't, which is, again, if you take the enemy saying I've defeated God, I know that's about Klal Yisrael, but you could theoretically say that about David also, is like it's a Kiddush Hashem, Chilul Hashem thing, or you could say that it's the internal enemy, and that would prevent him even more. What do you say, Ariel?
Yeah, I was just gonna go a little simpler. I mean, just in that, Pasuk Dalet, he's just asking to give him like the koach to see it.
Okay, that's also good.
It's almost like Hashem's stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to say the same thing, Chaim?
I was gonna say very similarly. That just
say it in your way anyway, in case there's something different.
Yeah. Okay. So it seems. I mean, to me, I was just gonna point out, like, I think Ha'ira Einai that's the focal point of the bakasha there. It's just really like that enlightenment, whatever that is exactly. I'm not sure what that is yet. If that's like how to get around the obstacles, how to like utilize the obstacles, how to like not see them as obstacles, like I'm not sure.
Okay. So how are we going to answer that? The final pasuk, and that's going to unlock everything. Okay, which is Va'ani b'chastecha b'taki. I trusted in your chesed. Okay. Therefore, Yagel libi b'shuasacha. My heart will rejoice in your salvation. Ashir l'Hashem, I will sing to Hashem from the salvation, ki gamal alai, because he bestowed kindness on me. So the question here is, what is he referring to? What is he talking about? And how does this suddenly give him conviction that God is going to save him? Chaim?
Yeah, I really like that actually, because I think the main point is keep them all alive, which is if you recognize that like God only does good, and that you can reframe the way you're like, the way that we approach like, different issues, then I think that it's just a natural.
Okay, so that would be because we could play fast and loose with the tenses. You can say that God does good. I'm taking this davka as past tense because it switches from past to future. Because I did trust in your kindness in the past, therefore I will rejoice in the salvation. You did give me chesed, and I will sing to you. So I'm asking, what is the chesed he trusted in, and what is the chesed that God gave him? Yeah, Ariel?
He gave him a pathway to he gave him a pathway so that he could see the good.
Yeah, and what is that pathway?
I don't know. Whatever. I mean, it's just
Torah.
Torah.
Oh, Torah.
Okay.
It was so easy.
Oh yeah, it was Torah.
What did Ariel say?
He just said, "Shoot!" It was so easy.
Yeah, I mean, Targum even said it too, right? Targum said Torah at some point, right?
Okay. So here's the thing, okay, and let's spell this out, okay. And this is what I want to walk through the evolution of the supplicant, okay. David is sitting here feeling sorry for himself, and there are all these distractions, and he feels distant from God. He asks God, okay, please just let me see your truth and your Torah and let me perfect myself. But then he realizes God already gave me the Torah, okay, in the past. And what has that allowed him to do?
Open it up and learn.
Well, what has it done for him? It's gotten him to this point where he can see. And guess what? Like, in other words, the fact that God has given him the Torah and that David's involvement in the Torah has enlightened his eyes and gotten him this far, that is God's hashgacha to him. In the sense, God has not forgotten him, okay? And God, in other words, that is how he gets salvation. And if you look back at the beginning, he's not totally hopeless, because his question is not, why did you abandon me? His question is, until when will you abandon me, right? In other words, he there is some glimmer of hope, right? And what he's doing is the first, this is the derech, okay? The first part of this is you have to give vent to the emotion, right? You feel forgotten from God, and you feel like you're a victim, and you feel like you are being distracted by all these things that are preventing you from learning. So you give voice to that, and you say, Hashem, tell me when will you forget me? Then you ask your bakasha, illuminate my eyes. But then the illumination but then you're still in the state where you're like, is Hashem going to answer me? But then you realize how much Hashem has actually already answered you, and he's given you this Torah, and he's given you this Yetzer HaTov, and that has done a lot of good for you and has illuminated your eyes, and you realize that it's all Hashem has already. He is being mashgiach on you, and there's a switch to the point where you realize that I am being helped by Hashem. But what is the only step that needs to be done though? Like what does he have to? What needs to happen now? What's the next step? What's the takeaway?
He needs to actualize that. He
needs to actually do it. Okay, and this brings us to the fantasy. Okay, and this is what Ken said this in a little bit of a harsh way when we were trying to spell out the message, and I wish I could remember the words, but I said are you trying to imitate Festel? It really sounded like something Festel would say, which is that people just want it to be easy, people just want it to be easy, and you sit there and you complain to Hashem, why do you abandon me? Why am I not learning more? Why am I not learning more? Hashem, why am I not learning more? What you're really saying is you're saying, Hashem, why can't it be as easy as I want it to be? But you always have the Torah there. You always have access to truth. You always have access to learning. And he gave you all of that. And not only did he give you all of that, but I'm going to quote the Rambam I always quote, because it's true. how does Hashem help you? What's the primary way that Hashem helps you learning? Hilchos Tshuva, Vav. Hey, is it okay? I feel like I covered this just last year, but I don't think I did. Umahu Zesh Amar David. This is Vav, Hey, and Tshuva. Umahu Zesh Amar David. Tov v'yashar Hashem alkein yorech hatayim b'darach yadrech anavim b'mishpat v'yilamid anavim darko. What is this that David said? Hashem is good and upright. Therefore, he guides sinners on the path. He guides the humble in justice, and he teaches the humble his way. So what does it mean? So what does it mean that Hashem guides sinners? How does Hashem guide sinners? This means that God sent Nevi'im who teach them the Darchei Hashem. Now, when he says he sent Nevi'im, he doesn't mean like you can go and look at your local Navi and, oh no, we're in an age without Nevi'im right now. We have all the Nevi'im that we need, right? Because the only Nevi'im that were written the only nevuos that were needed for generations are the ones that were written here. So we have access to nevuos Moshe, that's the best one, okay? And like all of the other nevuah. So he gave us this nevuah, and he says, "V'od shenasam bahem koach lilmud ulahavin." God gave us the capacity to learn and to understand. Shemida zo b'chol adam. This is in every person. Shekol zman shu nimshach b'darchei hachachma v'tzedek. The more a person is drawn after the ways of wisdom and righteousness, mis'ave lehen v'rodef osan. He will desire them and chase them. B'hu she'amru chachamim. This is what the chachamim mean when they say ba'al atayir mesayinoso, that one who comes to be purified will be assisted. Klomar, Yimsa Atzmo Ne'azar al Hadavar. He'll find himself assisted by the matter. So when the Meiri says that David is asking for Ezer Eloki, yeah, we do believe in Hashgacha Pratis in the sense of brachos and klalos from the outside, right? But we all know that brachos will not help you if you're a Rasha, right? In fact, it's going to harm you. So the externals could be all the same, but the real help that God gives you is by designing man in a way where the more you're involved in Chachma and Tzedek, the more you'll be drawn after it. So David at the beginning of the perek is sitting there saying, why did you forget me? Why did you forget me? Just illuminate my eyes. Let me connect to your Torah. And then you realize, oh, but that's how I got here in the first place. Torah has gotten me here. I still have access to it. Why don't I just involve myself in it? And then I will continue to involve myself in it. And it'll be a self-perpetuating cycle. That's how Hashem will help him, but he needs to actually do that. And again, this is the whole message we've been saying about tefillah. Tefillah is designed to get you to ask Hashem for your needs and to get you to recognize that poseach es yadach must be l'chol chayraton for everything. That everything that God gives is always there flowing. Like the Sefer Chaim says, it's muchan. The shefa hatov is muchan. Is always flowing, and you have to be muchan to receive it. You have to be machshir yourself to receive it. And this process is how he's essentially like getting himself into a position to receive the Tov Hashem. Yeah, Chaim.
Yeah, can you go back to the page with the words? Thanks.
Yes.
I think a pasuk that we haven't really talked about that much here, but I think really highlights the point. Is pasuk 3 really, when he says, "Until when must I devise schemes in my soul?" Right? Yeah. Meaning, until when am I going to have all my own plans and I'm going to try to figure everything out, and right. I'm gonna just follow myself, and I'm just gonna try to like I said, just figure everything out on my own. And then and then afterwards he comes to this realization oh, it's not about how hard can I think about this internally and try to figure out exactly how I can manipulate the system. It's no, I just have to align myself with the actual system, and then
Oh, that's a good shot. Okay, right. So that's so meaning not the Meiri's shot that the schemes are to get rid of the Yagon, schemes for connecting to Hashem in the way he wants.
Yeah, or just schemes for how to get around to the obstacles that he doesn't like.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like I'm not stressing this enough. And this kind of answers Tamar's question, but I still don't want to address it face on. You can't change the fact that there are enemies there, right? That's not in your if you can defeat your enemies, then you should do that. But I'm saying there are going to be certain things. Rabbi Akiva was born in an era where the Romans were persecuting. Okay, he cannot change that. Right. But if he lets that be an excuse for neglecting his Torah, that is the mistake. And by the way, if Rabbi Akiva were in an era of Moshe Rabbeinu in the Midbar, do you think he could learn more? Yeah, because he wouldn't have started learning when he was 40, but he can't change the past, and he can't change the fact that he was born in the Roman era, right? So he can't change those things. It is all about him and what he chooses to engage in. Okay. And that's the moment of enlightenment when you say ha'ira einai, and you realize that God already did that, and you just need to step into the light. That's how the tefillah is answered, Ariel and then Ayala. Or Ayala.
Okay, I don't know if this may be exactly what you're saying, or maybe off. Yeah, I'm not sure. But I think also like why it switches so suddenly is like at first, like he thinks he has to put in so much effort. But I think once he trusts in Hashem, like, or once he makes that first step towards it, he's automatically enlightened and he's automatically like singing praises to Hashem. And kind of like you think that you're gonna have to put in effort and like so much effort to continue on this path. Right. Like once you take one step towards it, you're kind of drawn in and like go from there.
Yeah, no, I think that is good. In other words, that like that if you've gotten to the point where you are yearning for the connection to Hashem and asking for for an opportunity to learn and to perfect yourself, you're already in a very good position. You just need to take that step of like initiating the virtuous cycle again, and then it'll reinforce itself. And the way you get that is by realizing that Hashem has gotten you to this point already. So is there something leading you to believe that this is not going to continue if you follow the process? Like all of us right now are in various stages of life, and we're in various levels of like having been illuminated by Torah, right? So if you're sitting there and saying, well, Hashem, I need more illumination, just trust the process. It's gotten you to this point. Trust the process, but you actually have to step up and take advantage of the process. That's the point. Yeah, Ariel and then Tamar.
Okay, so the level up essentially is Tehilim is also showing you like the Tשוba process.
The level up is that when you are feeling abandoned by God and you say this, this is taking you through the internal transformation process that you need to actually get your tefillah answered.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we see this clearly now. Well, now we all see it clearly in this paragraph. But have you guys?
Forget about the program. Yeah, that's the aspiration. But we'll focus on this paragraph first. Yeah, Tamar.
Okay, I think I have like several questions, but can I try and first clarify what you're saying in terms of the answer to my question from before?
Sure. And then actually, before you ask your questions, I think what I want to do also is to apply this to the national framework really quickly, because I think that'll just see it from another angle. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I think that the way that I thought it was being said before is that like it doesn't matter what the enemies are doing because it's all his like bechira or something. But I think that that's not really the point that's being made here. So that it's rather than like pining for things to be a different way, which is not productive, it's better for him to be focusing on the good that he was already given from God and how to utilize that. Yes,
right. And that you really cannot control whether or not your enemies are going to try to defeat you. And in fact, to the extent that David is successful, meaning let's say, I don't know at what point this happened in David's kingship, but let's say this was when he was trying to become king, well, guess what? People are going to oppose that. What is he going to do? Say that I'm not going to become king? Russia's going to rush. I mean, they're going to attack the tzaddik, so he can't stop that, but he can choose to remain dedicated to avodas Hashem in spite of that, and again, like I highly recommend that book from Rav Sinai Adler, because it was just a good example of this. Your staff and your rod and your staff, yeah. And he's not the only one, but like in the Holocaust, like people who remained, like there's this, I think he was like freezing to death one night, and like this guy who was a couple years older than him said, "Here, like you can borrow my blanket or whatever, and like we'll huddle for warmth." And then the guy said, "I memorized Maseches Makos. Do you want to learn?" And they learned all night. He says, "I recite the whole thing every day so I don't forget it." And like, here's a guy who's in the middle of I forgot which of the camps it was, and he's like involved in learning. Now, is it preferable? Are you saying that the Nazis didn't do anything? No, of course they did stuff. But does that mean that they're interfering with your free will to be able to involve yourself in Torah to the extent that you can? No, that is entirely in your free will. Now, isn't it bad that you're in a situation where they're giving you obstacles. Yeah, but like, so that's what I said. It's bad that we're in a situation right now where there are no Nevi'im walking around. It was bad that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't get into Eretz Yisrael. There's a lot of bad stuff that goes on, but that doesn't make Moshe say, oh, well, that's it. I can't do anything anymore. I can't get close to Hashem. Like, no, you can always do that. Yeah, Isaiah?
So let's say you're feeling distant from Hashem and you want to use this. I guess my question is like, if you think about the ideas of this perek, this perek is like a progression.
Yeah.
It's like, but if you read the perek or you think about the perek, like you already have the end. But I feel like you can't actually skip to the end.
Right. You have to go through each emotional and intellectual step until it effectuates this transformation. And you're going to have to do it again and again and again because it's cyclical. This is going to happen. It's not like you get to this and then you're done with the perek and you can put a stamp on it. You're going to go through these ups and downs. And you're going to need to go through this process, maybe sometimes every day. David, and then I want to do the national, and then I want to do do practical application, and then I'll take more questions. I think I want to get all three angles.
Cool. So most of the things so far as the first half of a lot of the things are seem quite extreme.
Yeah.
I think that's also within operating within the emotional framework, especially when the emotions are like very, very strong within him, that things do feel and seem extreme for someone who's in that type of situation. And it seemed like it was just really a small shift from pulling out of the emotional and then going into like the logical and really helping with that.
Yeah.
I think like budding that with thought from N54 Mario.
Thinking about it.
How the strength of emotion is not indicative of how long it will last.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems like these things can be like impossible to overpower.
And then suddenly, right. That's a good point. So in the national framework, this is the same situation Klal Yisrael is in. Okay, that we are in a situation where we feel abandoned by Hashem and we feel like we don't have access to all this good and all this stuff. And it is very easy to fall into the victim complainer mode and say, well, there's so many distractions, and having to make a living and all this other stuff. First of all, we have it really good compared to many, many other generations of Jews in many other cases, right? But the other thing is, so then get up and do something about it, right? God gave you the Torah. We're in an era where literally there are every single Torah text you could ever want is available just by typing in allatorah.org. Yeah, no, you have access to all these texts. You have access to all these shiurim. You have access. You can, if you used to be that if you're chavrusa, or maybe in some of our cases, 3 of your chavrusas make aliyah. Then that's it. Then you can't learn with them or connect with them on a daily basis. But we're in a place where you have instant communication with anybody. Used to be that if you're in a different city than your Rav, then that's it. But you can. There are no excuses other than Yetzer Hara. And that's the situation that Klal Yisrael is in right now. And we chalk it that we blame so many things, but the blame is only really with us. And you have to go through that process of coming to terms with that. Now, one more example, in terms of the takeaway for us, we're not being chased by our enemies, hopefully, but the example that came to my mind was something that's come up in Q&A a lot on Fridays, which is that there's certain guys who are, still feeling the pain of their yeshiva years and then the workforce. This is a common theme. And you're in the workforce and it's hard because there's you can't be in yeshiva all day long and you have to learn at night or whatever. No, this is.
No, I agree. Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. I have 3 chavrusas. They're low lives. Stop learning. Abandon me.
So I don't know what you're talking about. So I think the feeling is you feel disconnected with Hashem in the way that you used to be, and you want God to illuminate your eyes or whatever. But here's the thing: you can't go back to that state. That stage of your life is over, right? And you want God to illuminate your eyes. Well, you got to actually step into the light. All right. But here's how you can apply the last puzzle, and this is the key. Okay. I urge anyone who is feeling that pain to look back and ask themselves, how did I get to this point? Okay. And I'll tell you, actually, rewind all the way back. Okay. You know what you used to be? You used to be a dumb baby. Okay. You used to be a dumb baby. And somehow, through whatever Torah education you got, and your parenting, through your rebbeim, you got to the point where like you were able to start learning Torah, okay? And then that that led to the next level of your development, where you were able to, get interested in ideas. And then that led to the next part of your development, where you're able to get a love for learning, right? And now you're in the situation where you're working, right? Well, look at the chesed that God has done to you through Torah. Because you're involved in Torah, it has continuously developed you because you've been involved in it. Now you're at another stage in your life, and you're saying, "Wah, like I can't learn." God help me. Well, trust in the fact that God has helped you. Trust in the system and trust in the process, but do it. You can't get back that era. That era is gone. Okay. So, but here's the thing: you have to actually. You can't just be Festel and say get over it. You have to let yourself feel distant from God and express this yearning to get close to him. That's the first step. You have to feel that, and then you have to ask God ha'ira einai, and then you have to recognize like the solution. So that was the example that I wanted to walk through.
And I feel like the longer they go without
you leave Torah one day,
and worse and worse.
Right? You leave Torah one day, it leaves you 2 days. That's what Chazal say.
It's just whatever.
Yeah.
A bunch of people they just
right. But here's the thing: is that's the for people who are disconnected like that. I mean, that's the who knows whether it's a Chinese proverb or not, right? The Chinese proverb of like, when is the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago, right? But when's the second best time? Today, right? Like it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. And the cool thing is, if you start now, it's not like it's just arithmetic growth. Is that what you call it? I suppose exponential. What's the other? Linear, whatever. Yeah, it's not linear. Torah makes you able to develop more, and the more Torah you do, the more you're able to develop. So like it accelerates, and Okay, Tamar, and then Ayala.
I guess 2 things. One is like, could you repeat how pasuk hey fits into this picture? And also, did we address the interpretation of the 2 different topics?
Okay, so good question. So pasuk hey penyomor oivi yachaltiv sorry yagilu ki emot. So on a national level, it's actually much easier because the concern is, your real concern about your enemies saying that like attacking you is not the fact that they're attacking you, it's the fact that it's going to create chil Hashem, and the fact that God has redeemed you from Bavel and from Madai and from Yavan means that he will redeem us from Edom. If this is talking about the personal level, then this is part of the recognition of the problem. The recognition of the problem is that you don't want to let your Yetzer Hara dominate you and then incur a chiyuv misa. So it's the flip side of the coin of ha'ira einai. Ha'ira einai is the positive, and then Pentni Shan Hamavis, lest I be cut off from knowledge, lest my Yetzer Hara overpower me, and then I don't know what the faltering part is. I guess faltering is when you like stumble, So lest I lest the mistakes that I make compound and like lead to more mistakes, maybe. And then the unifying of the 2 things, I think, is just to show us this idea that the problem that Klal Yisrael will face in Galus in the future is exactly the same problem that David is facing now. That's how you can zoom back and forth, and it's not 2 topics, because both of them have to do with grappling to try to serve God in a world full of distractions and threats. And really, it all comes down to like you and your involvement in Torah. Does that answer your question, Tamar?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, Ayala.
Okay, I actually had 3 thoughts. First, I was thinking what you were just saying about like how to read it in the personal way of pasuk 5. Like, it reminds me of the idea of mitzvah garas, mitzvah avera, garas avera.
That's a good
and
point.
I feel like maybe pasuk 5 is literally the avera garas avera, is like the Yetzer Hara is overpowering him, and he's going to rejoice when I falter, meaning I'm going to get in that cycle of bad.
Yeah, that's a great shot. I like that shot. Yeah. And just to reiterate, the Meiri's interpretation of avera garas avera is that I don't remember it anymore. That I have to open it up in the kind here. Yeah, you can ask your other point or other question while I'm opening this up.
I have 2 other points about the national idea of this.
Yeah.
So the first one that I was thinking, which I think I've said before, is, I guess maybe this would apply on the personal level too, but on a national level, like, what do we want when we want the Geula? Is we want to be able to, I don't know, I guess, like, be close to Hashem and learn, and the whole world to recognize that. but specifically for ourselves to be able to engage in that, I guess. But then once we realize that like that's what we really want, then we can do that now. Like we don't have to wait for the goo.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's anyone who's just passively waiting for the for that to come and not actively engaging it doesn't actually want it, because if they actually want it, they'd be doing it now. Yeah.
And then the other thing that I was going to say is I feel like a lot of the time, I think my dad has told me this, of like looking at the world right now of like how can Mashiach come, but I think like my dad always emphasizes that like it could literally come like in the blink of an eye, I guess. And I think like in the way that like society can turn around so quickly. Maybe it's like from the Holocaust to the establishment of the state as an example, but like I think it has to do with like this cycle of good where like once you tap into it, like it could be a complete shift in like a second kind of.
Yeah.
That society can shift.
That's a good point. So it could be as instantaneous as the Mizmor writes it, right? For Klal Yisrael. Yeah, that's a good shot. So just really quickly, the Meiri says mitzvah guras mitzvah and avera guras avera happens in 3 ways. Either reward and punishment of Hashem providing you or depriving you of additional opportunities for mitzvos and averos. 2 is habit, is that mitzvah habits will lead to more mitzvah habits, and avera habits will, that's the easy one, right? Is that the more you give into tithe, the more you're going to do that. And then chance, which is that as a result of doing mitzvos, you end up in situations where you're going to encounter other mitzvos, and same thing with averos. Like if you go to shul to make a minyan, then you're going to end up having a conversation with someone who like is about an idea, and then you can end up starting a chavrusa, or like, and that wouldn't have happened if you didn't go to shul. And if you end up hanging out with gang members and like playing lookout for them, then you're going to end up like being involved in crime and like, or getting shot or whatever, or like shooting up shooting in front of a Siach Yitzchak at 7:30 in the morning. Yeah. Okay. So I think so just to summarize, and then we'll end for tonight. We went over time. Yeah.
Do we answer, the approach of where it was national and David?
Yes, I answered that with Tamar just now. Yeah, I'll summarize again.
Yeah.
So the main idea of the perek, this perek is. Oh, and by the way, this perek is about when you feel disconnected from God. Okay, and there are 3 steps. You have to give vent to that and express the feeling of distance from God. Okay. In terms of what that actually means, right? Like I can't be involved in learning. There's so many distractions. The Torah overpowering me. Then you need to make a bakasha, asking God to illuminate your eyes, which means please let me be involved in Torah, and to escape the grips of my Yetzer Hara. And then that leads to an aha moment of, am I really doing everything that is in my power to be able to make that happen? Because if not, then God's not going to do it, right? That was our whole tefillah thing. So you have to align yourself with that and make sure I'm actually taking advantage of all these things that I can be doing. And then you realize what bolsters you is God has done chesed to me by giving me the Torah and facilitating this development in the past. I can have absolute conviction that God will save me from this in the future if I work the program, And on a national level, that's the case as well, because Klal Yisrael is bogged down with this sense of hopelessness because of all the enemies that distract us from being involved in Torah and mitzvos. And we yearn to be involved in Torah, but we got to realize you can be involved in Torah right now. And if you look at and that's going to be the ticket to the Geula. And if you look at, the past, there's a track record of this. And the reason why it's being unified is because it's the same problem. Davi is looking at the problem that Klal Yisrael is going to face in the future and saying, that's the same problem that I'm facing right now in my own life. And that's why the stapling the 2 themes together is, it shows that unity. It is the same problem. The only question I can't answer is why the Meiri prefers the Derech Drush. To me, I like the David better. Maybe that's just a matter of intuition. Is about Klal Yisrael and the Galios. I just feel like that doesn't teach you as many ideas. And I feel like all the ideas that you get from there are in the individual one. But yeah. Oh, so my last point is in terms of saying Tehilim. Okay, the way saying Tehilim works is like the Sefer Chinuch says in I forgot what mitzvah is in Chol V'Chaver, which I'll just look up here. Hold on a second. What did I call it? Computer slowing down. How to say Tehilim? Do I spell it with 1 L or 2 L's? That's one I forgot. Oh, that's not the one. Hold on. Sorry about this. Or maybe I did quote it here. I don't know what phrase I'm looking for. Oh, here we go. How to say Tehilim without violating halacha. Yeah, so this is in Chover Chaver. So he says that is reciting incantations. Why is my zoom in not working? Oh, because it's not like that. Hold on. I just gotta see which number mitzvah this is. Oh, this is slowing down. Number. All right, I'll look it up later. So he says, how's Tehilim work? That they mention to say these psalms since they contain words that inspire the soul that knows them to take shelter in Hashem and to take security in Him and to establish a reverent fear of Him firmly in his heart and to rely on His kindness and His goodness. As a result of this inspiration, he will be protected from every harm without a doubt. So if you are feeling, whether because of your work or because of enemies or whatever, because of distractions, if you're feeling distant from Hashem and not able to be involved in Torah, say the perek and review the ideas as you're saying it and let the ideas wash over you and affect you in this way. Like, you're not going to get this just from like thinking about the ideas. You have to actually say the ideas and ask Hashem, in this way. And by the way, sorry, I really wanted to go over this, but you don't have to do this on your own. This to me adds a new meaning to the bracha of Hamapiel. Okay. Because the first thing that slowing down. Come on, you can make it.
It's time for some avodas now.
It's too late for avodas right now. I'm just using the Rambams because I know where it is. So you start in Hamapiel, who causes the bonds of sleep to fall upon my eyes, and who illuminates the pupil of the eye. So that's plain shot talking about actual sleep and actual waking up. Hashem, my God, save me from the Yitzhara and the evil encounter, okay, or occurrence. This is talking about for presumably for the next day, okay. Don't let now bad dreams and bad hirhurim confound me. And let my bed be perfect before you. Cause me to get up from it for life and for peace. Illuminate my eyes lest I sleep death. Now I always and blessed are you, Hashem, who illuminates the whole world. I always thought Peinishan Mavis means lest I die in my sleep. Okay, because that's what you would think, right? But then it's weird because then the Samach L'Chasima doesn't make any sense. Who illuminates the world, right? But if illuminating the world means through knowledge, then this is really part of the bakasha to face the next day in the correct frame of mind, which is to not face the next day. You're asking God to save you from the Yitzhara and to not do what David was saying, which is to cease from your involvement in learning and die the true death. It's not talking about biological death, like death in your sleep. I mean, it can be talking about that also, but it's alluding to this other one. Yeah, last question, then we'll stop.
Yeah, this is more of like the methodology on how what exactly happened, chavrusa that transpired in this level up again. We
learned it, and this is the ideas we came up with. And regarding your other question about like, does this apply to other prakim? We're not going to force it. The pivot point is that the thing, got to the point where we were like, okay, this is a method and we're going to test it out. This is just, maybe not all prakim are like this. Maybe there are some that are like this, some that are not, we'll just keep an open mind. The evolution of the supplicant. Okay. All right. I don't know what we're going to do next week, but I realize that, so next week, we can have shiur. The week after that, the 24th, Rabbi Zucker is giving shiur, and I'm going to be going to that shiur, so I don't think we can have shiur that night. Okay, but I urge all of you to go to Rabbi Zucker's shiur. On Zoom, yeah. Okay, so we'll think about something one session to do next time, although we thought this was going to be one session also. Maybe. We'll see. Okay, have a good night, everybody. Thanks for coming.